We're back. Hi.
We're back.
Ramon and Bob.
Hi, stranger.
Hiya.
Well, shall I say hello, Sam?
I'm not actually even sure if today we're allowed to be doing this. I think the rules today are okay, but the rules change so fast it's not quite certain. But I think we're in a bubble, so...
I think Boris is saying no more than 5 people.
Well, that counts us out then, because we're at least 10 people.
Exactly.
But seriously, it's great to be back. Hi, guys.
And hello, Bob.
Hello. And today, we're going to do something a bit different. We're not going to be playing any Gibsons. We are going to be playing some old stuff. But the theme is a bit of a spaghetti western. So we're going to be doing a bit of twanging on some twanging. The instrument that I've got is a 1956 Gretsch Duo Jet, which you might have seen in a previous unboxing. It's in pretty good shape. It's all there, all original. Like most Gretches, my suspicion is that it's had a neck reset sometime in its life. I read a comment just on one post on one of the gear pages just this morning about a guy who posted 2 Gibsons and a Gretsch, and all the comments were, I think I'll keep the Gibsons, mate, because the necks don't fall off. Which is a bit unkind, I think, but Gretches do have a reputation for being kind of over-engineered, changing their specs every single model run, and also being a bit physically unstable. This guitar actually is in pretty good shape. The binding hasn't come off, blah blah, so that's this one. And paired with it, these are the single coil Dearmond pickups of the period. Paired with it, you have...
Yeah, this is a homemade Telecaster, and basically I've tried to do a cheap version of Bob's guitar, which is just getting 2 bits of a neck and a body, MJT body, and a neck made for me by my friend. And I've got some vintage Dearmond Dynasonic pickups, so just to kind of replicate the sound, so you can kind of hear the difference. I mean, these are actually ones from the 1950s, so I got a good bargain on them. Actually, the one in the bridge has been rewound, and we noticed it's a little bit more mellow. Yours is more mellow than this one.
That's a bit hotter.
Yeah, and but the neck is pretty much similar. So we're gonna just A/B them and see what.
And geek value, guys. These are obviously the black ones that came with the Gretches. Those are white and original. They're slightly rarer. You found them very often on guilds in the early 60s. But the ones with the white innards are, I think, certainly less common. I've seen less of them. These are a bit more common. But same pickup, single coil, quite low output, quite weak, but just gleamy, glisteny.
Yeah.
Texture, twang.
If you want that spaghetti western or Dwayne Eddy, you know. So let's do a bit of Chris Isaac, shall we? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so this has got a really good twang, especially when you use effects. Tell me about the effects you're using with this.
So if you saw one of my previous solo videos, I'm using this Boss MS3 multi-effect unit, which I still, months later, I'm still in love with. I think it's fantastic. I can clone the sound of pretty much any effects pedal that comes in this house. I'm not saying it's as good as a bloody Strymon or as good as a Klon or any of that stuff, but to be honest, I haven't got the money anymore, and I haven't got the space for a dozen big pedals like that, all of which claim superbness. It's fantastic. The whole thing is about the size of 2 paperback books. Goes in my pocket when I do a gig, if I ever get to do a gig. it's just fantastic. I've just learnt to program it and it's fine. So all I've got that giving me a bit of tremolo at the moment, but we've got all kinds of sounds in it.
Okay, so Bob, let's just go through our different pickups, our neck, middle and bridge.
Okay.
If you go first and then we'll swap over. So let me give you a groove. Okay, so that's kind of the sounds of these pickups, which probably are the most spaghetti, western and twangy of all pickups ever made, Bob, do you think?
Probably. They've got a nice twang to them. Some of the Guild pickups are quite interesting. We'll play with one of them in a minute, but yeah, they have a lovely twang to them. These amps, I mean, I'm playing through a reissue Blackface Fender Deluxe, and they like each other a lot. They really do.
And we've got a Lazy J, haven't we, as well?
Yeah,
which is on with
Ramon's through the Lazy J20.
So it's a nice sort of combination. Tell us a bit more about this guitar, Bob. What year is it? What it's, you know, I know you've spoken a bit before about it, but it's just it's a crazy sound. And
like all Gretsches, it's rather over-engineered. I mean, the knobs are, you know, turned out of solid steel or brass or something like that. Everything's heavy. The Melita bridge is a piece of art. There's a story there, I'll tell you. A long time ago, I had a 1965 Gibson ES330 kind of T-burst coloured thing, that I actually traded my first ever Gibson for when I was in my mid-20s. And it was a beautiful guitar to look at, which is why I bought it. It was a really great guitar to kind of do photo shoots and stuff with, but I never got on with it as a player. The neck was getting skinny because it was mid-60s Gibson, and the pickups had the nickel covers and didn't really have a lot of tone. So I kept the guitar for years, but didn't really know what to do with it. And then one day I was online, in the early days of online, to this guy who ran a fantastic shop in Germany called Guitar and Coffee Shop. And he sold vintage guitars, and he had a Gretsch Duo Jet. And I started talking to him about it. And he said, well, it's for sale, you know. And I said, well, the only thing I want to do at the moment is part exchange my 330. And he bit my arm off. He said, well, I've got a customer who wants one of those. So I booked a cheap flight, flew over to Germany one Monday morning, and went and did an exchange. So I gave him a small amount of money and my 330, and I got this 1956 Duo Jet. And that's about 15 years ago. Anyway, the story about this was that one day I lent this to a friend of mine for a couple of weeks. A friend I trusted, obviously. I was in a band with him at the time. And he was completely grief-stricken, mortified. When I collected the guitar, the bridge had cracked and sunk. This Melita bridge had cracked. And he thought he'd broken it. And he knew that it was an old guitar and valuable and hard to fix. He didn't know that I'd already seen the crack in the bridge and that it had actually... Basically, it was an accident waiting to happen. It wasn't his fault. Could have happened to you, could have happened to me, could have happened in the case overnight. Just chose to happen when he had it. So there was no question of asking him to, you know, fix it and pay for it.
Right.
But I had the problem, which I was going to have anyway, of replacing a Melita bridge. If you've ever tried replacing a 50s Melita bridge on a Gretsch, I can tell you it's much easier to find a good tune-o-matic for a vintage, you know, 58, 59, 60, 61 Gibson. Much, much, much easier. But I found... miraculously, this guy online who had a silver one. There's lots of gold ones, by the way. Silver are quite unusual. I found a silver one, but he said, I'm terribly sorry, but I haven't got the intonation bits. I've only got the bridge chassis itself. At which point I said, you're my man made in heaven, because I've got all the parts. I just need the moulding at the bottom. And so I got this for $200.
Amazing.
Which is a ton of money for an old piece of metal.
Yeah,
but if
crazy.
that's the only one in the world, and you're looking... and you've got the guitar, bite the bullet. And I thought I got lucky.
Okay, so but what do we have here? What do we have here?
So the sharp-eyed viewers might have noticed that the guitar's changed colour. I've swapped now for a 1958, I think it is, Guild M75 Aristocrat. Sorry. These
you're
guitars,
a bit of an aristocrat, aren't you?
thank you. Well, I'm the Lord Downton of Tone, as we've established from previous videos. Lord Grantham of Tone, rather, Downtone Abbey. But this is a bit of a mongrel, this guitar. They're quite unusual. This is kind of Guild's response to the Les Paul, so it's a small-bodied, like the Gretsch I was just playing, it's hollow-bodied.
Can I feel how heavy it is?
Very light.
Oh yeah, that's very light, guys.
Very light. I mean, the back is literally just you can see the back's just a sheet.
And it's quite thicker. It's thicker than a Les Paul.
Slightly thicker than a Les Paul, but very light. Like a lot of Guilds, the neck is really, really, really nice. It's quite slim, not really very 50s at all. Plays really easily, fantastic action. Geek point for the collectors out there. These machine heads on this guitar, they're gold Clusens with yellowed plastic buttons on them. And as far as I can tell, these were not used on any other guitar. So don't damage yours if you've got a Guild M75. Don't lose them, because you'll be very, very, very lucky indeed to find a replacement. You know, even luckier than I was with that Melita bridge on my Gretsch. The charm about this guitar is it's got these Guild copies of Gibson P90s made by a company called France, who I think were also, like Guild, based in New York. These pickups, I'm assuming these pickups came on this guitar originally, but I've got no idea because I bought it from a man called Bruce Dearmond of Dearmond Strings in America, who's stopped trading now, and he used to deal in sort of the weird and wonderful rather than the conventional collectible guitars. And he sold me this. It's a bit of a mess. I think it might have had a neck break. I think it might have had a headstock break. I'm not quite sure because it's got some overspray. It's certainly got some stuff in the finish around the heel, the neck heel, that I'm not very happy about. It could be that it's assembled from a pair of France pickups. They're both kosher, they're just not necessarily...
Yeah, this one's a bit more yellow than that one.
Much yellower than that one. The bridge pickup is much richer, the neck pickup's much richer, the bridge pickup's a bit thin, as you might have heard when I was playing and changing pickups and pointing to them just then. The other thing about this guitar is weird, the control knobs are the wrong way around. So that's the bridge volume, but I think that's the neck volume. And also the thing about this guitar as well is the tone changes dramatically when you pull the volume back, really dramatically. So much so that it makes the guitar quite hard to use if you're riding volume. So I was playing all that at full volume because it really goes very, very dark if you pull the guitar back. But it's if you're a collector of these things and you like the sort of Les Paul shape and all the rest of it, you've kind of got to have a Gretsch Duo Jet and you've kind of got to have a Guild M75.
Yeah.
And within the parameters I've talked about, I mean, this guitar was not cheap, but it certainly wasn't expensive. And I live with the fact that it's got some, mongrelization to it and all the rest of it. But it is a sweet guitar to play. Also, like a 330, it's a great guitar for noodling in front of the telly on the sofa because
it's got bass. It's bass.
It's quite acoustic. That's with the volumes off. So that's it. So that's a Guild M75, and again, it's a nice single pickup 50s twangy guitar.
It's beautiful, man.
But I think that Larry Carlton played one of these. I think his original Bluesbird was an old original. I think. And actually, if you do play through a bit of drive and with the volume reined back a bit and sort of tease the strings, it sounds a bit Carlton.
I think we are actually going to do a video on Guild because I've got a good friend who's a bit of a collector, and you've got a friend, haven't you? So we're going to do a kind of a proper Guild, episode where we get into a lot of Guilds.
I mean, certainly my experience of Guilds is that if there's a Guild equivalent to a Gibson, it's very often very, very well made, could be better. It's almost like, they had to try harder.
Yeah, were they based on Long Island? I think they were. And weren't they the original guys that worked at Epiphone? And then when Gibson bought Epiphone... Yeah,
they were displaced.
They
a lot of the workforce
Guild,
moved, yeah.
But they really are... I think they're going to be the next guitars that become expensive in the vintage market. I think Guilds...
You're messing with the market again, Ramon. You're messing with the market.
I know. But I think Guilds are going to be the next one.
No stocks and shares recommendations on this show, ladies and gentlemen.
So that about wraps up today's episode. But we're going to come back actually because Bob and I are a bit rusty. I don't know if you've noticed the communication's a little bit.
The chemistry's a bit.
Yeah.
We've lost the knack.
But we're going to get it back. We're going to get it back. You know, COVID-19 is not going to stop us, and we're going to come back. And the next video is going to be amazing. What is it going to be? It's going to be all about
tone
and how. Because one thing is, I've really noticed Bob knows how to coax a beautiful tone from a vintage guitar, and I kind of personally I want to know how he does it. So that's going to be the next Bob and Ramon show.
I'm going to get interrogated. Watch this space.
So it's been a real blast, guys. Thanks for coming along for the ride.
Bye and stay safe.
Take care. All the best.